Hello and welcome to another fun-filled nonsense retrospective. I'm your host as always, Rick. Joining me equally as always is Devon.
Hey diddly ho, neighborinos. Oh wait, that's the other cartoon sitcom.
Yeah, wrong show. Yeah, we're going to be talking about Family Guy today. We've each picked out an episode and we're going to run through things and what we liked about it and all that. So, before we get any further into that, we're going to start with our time-honored tradition of the nonsense asinine hypotheticals. And do you have one for me today?
I do. It's a bit of a boring, simple question, but sometimes that's what life calls for. So, as we already know, there is a Cleveland show, which is a spin-off of Family Guy. My question to you is, which minor/side character, not including Cleveland, because he already got one, would you give a spin-off show to?
So we can't have Quagmire because they even addressed it in the show that he's a sex offender. I think Joe's in a weird place where they start by respecting him and then really quickly just devolve him into just the butt of gags.
Yeah, but it's the fucking Flanderization of every character on Family Guy, isn't it?
Yeah. The greased up deaf guy is a gag character at the best of times.
Oh my.
I think Tom Tucker...
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
I think Tom Tucker has actually got a lot of mining potential for comedy. Like, his episodes tend to be pretty good.
I mean, we know he used to be an actor because he auditioned for the role of Freddy Krueger.
Yes. Yeah, so, hello, I'm Tom Tucker. And, that'd work pretty well. And I think he's another MacFarlane character, like, as in voiced by Seth MacFarlane, so...
He voices about a third of the cast, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Like, the Doctor and Carter Pewterschmidt have got literally the same voice, and it only took, 10 seasons for them to be in the same room together.
Well, they even say it, don't they? It's like, yeah, we do kind of sound similar. I guess we've never had an extended interaction long enough for me to realise it.
I'm going to go with Tom Tucker.
Do you have one for me, then?
Yeah, so mine for you is, who is the least famous person that you would like to meet?
The least famous person?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. That's a good question, by the way. I'm just struggling to think, really. I don't know. It's a bit... Oh.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's kind of a bit subjective, because if you think someone is famous at all and no one else knows about them, then it kind of qualifies them for this. But they might be incredibly famous within the circle of things that you care about.
Exactly. I'm essentially taking the question as, what person is famous in your niche, but outside of your niche, no one knows who the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah.
You know? I'm not really sure. Oh, goodness gracious me.
If it helps fill for time and to jog your creativity, I can tell you mine.
Yeah, you go for that, man.
Yeah, the one that I thought of when I thought of this question was Hamish Steele, the creator of Dead End Paranormal Park.
I get you.
He seems like a real interesting person to just pick the brains of on, what well, obviously, you've got the series in different forms to go over and have a look into his creative process, but just a chat to, Seems like an interesting person,
Yeah. Shit, okay, well, I've got one, but I'm gonna butcher his name because it's actually an art style, but it's named after the dude.
Okie dokie.
Blanchitsu.
Okay.
It's something that comes up a lot in Old White Dwarfs.
Right.
It was, I don't know if it's still popular, I really don't, and I honestly, it's doing my head in, but a guy used to do a bunch of artwork based on Warhammer 40k, as in actual paintings and drawings and whatnot, and are these
the ones that would end up on, the box art for the versions, for the editions?
They wouldn't end up on box art, it was just artwork.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I remember in the White Dwarf articles, it was people making miniatures based off the artwork, and the article was called Blanchitsu. I can't remember the geezer's name, and it's driving me crazy. And I just did a cheeky Google, and it just corrected me into, no, Blanchitsu's not a dude's name, it's an art style, so I don't know.
So, apologies to Mr. Blanchitsu, if that is your real name, we know it's not.
Alternatively, just Duncan Rhodes, fuck it.
Okay.
That's a name I know, I think everyone knows. He's got his own paint range now. We saw it in a comic shop recently.
Yeah, he's the guy that, it wasn't he the guy that parted ways with Games Workshop and then created his paint range with pretty much the same hashtag colours?
The meme was always use two thin coats, therefore his paint range is called Two Thin Coats.
Ah, yes.
Anything but beyond that surface level knowledge, I'm unfamiliar with because I've not deep dived. In fact, I'm not even sure if Duncan Rhodes got fired or it was a mutually agreed upon split. I think it was a mutually agreed upon split because it was so amicable, but I don't know.
Okie dokie.
But yeah, Blanchitsu / Duncan Rhodes because, yeah, I'm a derp.
Yeah.
So, Rick, what are we doing today?
Yep, similar to our Simpsons retrospectives where we just have an episode and chat about it. We're going to do the same for Family Guy. So, do you want to start first or shall I?
Well, I was going to say, Rick, it's your show, you're the host. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Okay, so I picked one out entirely by the title. Turned out I picked the wrong episode, but by the time I was like a third of the way into it and I'd been making notes, I was like, okay, this is still a fine episode to do it because, surprise, surprise, I picked the official episode 1, Death Has a Shadow. I was hoping for something that turned out to be in series 2.
Okay, if this was early on enough with Death being a character, it might have been the Norm Macdonald Death.
It was the Norm Macdonald Death. However,
okay.
the first like 6 episodes of season 1 all had death or dying or something like that in the title.
Oh, I did not realise.
It's like halfway through season 1. I think Joe is the first episode that isn't referring to death.
Okay.
Like the title is like A Hero Sits Next Door.
Yeah.
And everything else is death related. But Death himself doesn't show up.
Okay.
This is the official first episode. We start with gags before the credits even, and it's a Jemima's Witness, which I suppose is an American brand of pie. And it's just showing that back in the day, Family Guy used to be like mostly good-hearted.
Sure.
Meg wants collagen lips, and Lois's retort to that is the first real cutaway gag of the series, where it's the Hitler at the gym.
Okay. Oh, and he sees a Jewish guy who's super buff, right?
Yeah, this super jacked Jewish guy who's being swarmed by ladies, and Hitler's like struggling to lift the 2-pound dumbbell.
Yeah, it's always the it's always the gag, isn't it? Of whenever you take the piss out of Hitler being the way he is, it's like Hitler was an ugly, scrawny fuck, and he knew one buff Jewish guy who got laid a lot. Therefore, he hates Jews because he's that petty.
Yeah. And what's next? But my next thing is that Chris is basically not a character in this episode.
Okay, so does he appear on screen at all, or does he just not talk, or what's the deal?
He appears on screen, but he's like not in any way in focus.
Okay.
Everyone else in the family gets some sort of focus. Like Meg wants her lip injections, she gets them eventually, and then they go flat because they've not been keeping up to them.
Yep.
But that's basically her complete contribution. Chris's contribution is that when they get Meg the lip implants, they buy Chris breast implants, and he he just walks past just fondling these 2 breast implants in his hands.
As a teenage boy would.
Yep. Stewie is at his most evil early on.
Yeah, he's hardcore
and,
in the murder Lois phase in the first season for definite.
Yep, including one where he just shoots past her, and they just look at him, and he goes, "What? It's a tuna fish sandwich and nothing else." And the gun barrel just retracts into the sandwich. But we do get... another one is there's a microchip on the thermostat. Whenever someone touches the thermostat, all the dads know about it.
Yeah, that's a real American gag, isn't it? Because for those of you who are watching from America or elsewhere, in the UK, we don't really have thermostats.
Well, we kind of do, but like...
Not
at a temperature.
Not in my house. In my house, we have really not thermostats, especially not these really fancy ones where you can specifically say, we want the house to be 15 degrees and no higher. By the way, that's quite warm in the UK measurements because we use Celsius, not Fahrenheit. But yeah. 15
isn't that warm, but yeah, 20 is normally like the comfortable temperature, which I think is about 78 Fahrenheit.
Maybe, I'm not sure.
For people who use the old ways. And the idea behind that is that you if you set it to a certain number in the UK, because we don't have air conditioning, it will just turn the radiators off when it gets to that in the room that it's measuring it.
Yeah, except if you're like me and have lived in crap houses, they never fucking work.
Oh no. Like even mine doesn't work, and it's because the loop is so weirdly shaped that there's always going to be an air bubble.
Right.
And the air bubble stops anything after that from getting any circulation.
Oh, that sucks, bro.
Yeah. Except when it's malfunctioning. When it's malfunctioning, it's always on full blast all the time. Like what during that heat wave, it wasn't quite that one.
Okay.
But the one before, not that one, but the one before, where it just would not turn off for the entire summer.
Ooh.
So yeah, we had the windows open all the time, and we got all the bugs.
And I told you this before, probably on podcast even. Just get nets.
Yeah. You've seen how plastic my window is. It's going to be difficult to put things up on it, but sure.
Yeah, but the ones I've got go on the wall around the window.
Sure.
Anyway, granted, this is not a discussion we should probably be having during the podcast. You're right to try and hurry me. I'm sorry.
So Peter goes to get drunk. I think it's meant to be for a bachelor party or a stag do. Lois tells him not to get drunk, and they show a bunch of gags about him getting drunk off a very small amount of alcohol, like licking a rum and raisin ice cream and then just passing out drunk.
It's weird, isn't it? Because in future episodes, Peter's implied to have a really high alcohol tolerance.
Yes. I think it's just for the gag right now, which I kind of appreciate. Having a childish style character get drunk really easily is kind of funny in a world where you don't have to worry about alcoholism.
Yeah.
And this is where Quagmire gets his first introduction, and he's not a sex maniac this time.
Yeah, again, it's one of those where, like, especially seeing as you're pointing at episode 1, it's grand because every single character in Family Guy suffers from flanderization. Every single one, including the main character.
Yeah, like especially Peter. Like, he used to be likable, and nowadays he's a sociopath.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot of Family Guy. I've watched up to, I believe, season 12. I don't even know what season we're on now, but I want to
over 20.
Oh, there you go. I want to say about season 6 is when it takes a nosedive into Peter just being a dick all the time.
Yes.
But I could be wrong on the exact season, but it doesn't take... It's after the... what's the word I'm looking for, Rick? After the cancellation and the return.
Yeah, so the super hiatus.
Yeah.
But not really a hiatus, because it was literally just cancelled and ended.
Yeah.
And it was rebooted. And this was... When it was rebooted, when it came back, I think it came back before American Dad came back. Or American Dad started. When American Dad was pitched as the thing that they made to, fill the void that was left by Family Guy no longer being around.
Yeah, possibly.
And I think American Dad got better after season 1, where they didn't have to be the Family Guy stand-in anymore, when they could just, do their own thing with their own characters.
I get what you're saying. I quite enjoy American Dad, but I caught an episode not too long ago where there is a new alien that's a baby, and it feels awful and forced.
Oh, Rogu, yeah. I saw the episode where he was born. It was just a tumour that Roger had because he was trying not to do his characters as much.
Right.
And he got a tumour from it, and the tumour just hatched into Rogu, and Rogu just picks up the slack from doing characters.
Rogu's a weird name. Did that come out before or after the reveal in Star Wars?
It was long before Grogu.
Okay. I'm just curious, because I genuinely don't know.
It's just Roger, but wrong.
Yeah, it does look like a beat-up, mentally deformed, handicapped Roger.
Well, because he basically is. He's his son, rather than anything else.
Sure. But yeah, Family Guy.
But yeah, Quagmire gets the... Let's play Drink the Beer! Ah, sweet, what do I get? What do I win? Another beer! Which is about as wholesome as you can get at a stag do like that. We see Mr. Weed. Peter's...
Yeah, because when the series first starts, Peter isn't part of the brewery, he's part of a toy company, isn't he?
Yeah. So the toy company both exists, and so does Mr. Weed. Mr. Weed doesn't last long.
No.
But he does actually have some episodes where he lives.
Yeah.
This is one of them, and it's not subtle at all that he's gay, because he keeps Peter around mostly as eye candy, but also to do his job. And then later on in the episode where Peter's got a lot of money and he's buying things, he breaks the penis off Michelangelo's David and just throws it through Mr. Weed's window.
Okay.
and Mr. Weed wants to put it on display. I think he says, "I'll call you Antonio" or something.
Fair enough.
But yeah, Peter gets fired from the brewery for sleeping on the job because he's hungover.
Fired from the toy shop.
Not from the brewery. Fired from the toy factory. And he's only fired not because he was sleeping, but because he let a bunch of dangerous toys out into the wild.
Oh, toy soldier, small soldier style.
Well, more a case of instead of a baby that vomits or something, it just is a flamethrower.
How did this get past quality control? Oh yes, Peter is quality control.
Yeah. The thing that you have to kind of just turn your brain off and accept it is that they're all coming off a factory line.
Yep.
So someone must have done something about it to assemble it. But yeah, it's just like bottles of pills are coming through, like an axe. Like, who would ever make this thinking that it could be snuck through on the line?
I'll tell you what. People who are getting paid minimum wage.
Yep. It's just there for the gag. But yeah, once he's fired, he has to either conceal it from Lois or whatever. So he chooses. He listens to his angel and his demon on his shoulder. The demon says, "Lie to her. It's okay to lie to women. They aren't people like us." And when he's waiting for his good guy angel, it cuts away to the angel stuck in traffic. This gets called back to later when the angel finally arrives, and the angel has his unknown demon who is there, and the angel's angel is also stuck in traffic.
Yeah, this is running gag in Family Guy because it comes up like in the first 4 seasons, I swear.
Yep. They show Peter at Tiananmen Square.
Okay.
In a cutaway gag. He's there with the one protesting student, and he looks at the tanks and goes, "Oh, hell with this," and he fucks off.
Yeah.
And yes, this scene is still there on the Disney Plus version.
That's actually kind of amazing because, you know,
Yes.
Disney is one of the first to bow to big China.
Yes. And Brian hits him with a newspaper in one of the most simple yet like fun and adorable role reversals that Peter and Brian have going on.
Mm-hmm.
Just hits him with a newspaper and go, "No."
Yeah.
There's a cutaway gag of how Peter didn't fart until he was 30.
Oh, boy, wouldn't that be weird?
Yeah. He's just sat there in a beanbag and he just farts and he goes, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah, you saying that about Brian, like, I do, there are some funny moments with Brian and Peter. I can't remember the season or the episode, but there's an episode real later on where Peter's mucking around and he falls down the stairs and he ends up in a pile and his neck is clearly broken and his wrists are dislocated and shit. And Peter's just, Brian's just sat at the table reading the paper and he just goes, "I'm not going to help you because then you won't learn."
Yeah, I'm not calling the ambulance because then you won't learn, yeah. But yeah, Peter ends up getting $150,000 a week.
Damn.
And it cuts away to it being because Clinton is still president. He's sipping martinis at the interview podium, and it cuts back to Brian going, "This is why I don't vote," and that didn't last long.
Jesus, it's like a completely different show. It really is.
Yeah, they buy a bunch of things, spend money on things. Meg gets her lip injections. They rent the Statue of David, and the last one they get is a moat which keeps the Black Knight at bay.
Right.
But that's when Lois finds out, and they talk about that they've got money now, and it's enough money to make any trouble their kids get into go away, just like the Kennedys.
Right.
And because Lois is going mental at him and wants him to, give it back to the government because it's the taxpayer that's paying for this stupid thing. His idea of doing so is not to, contact the welfare office. It's to get in a blimp and drop it in a football stadium.
I find it laughable to think that the US government would ever give out 150k or however much it was and not immediately find out and fucking start bursting down doors.
Yeah, the way that would happen is that they were meant to give it to someone who's a friend of a friend of a friend,
Oh, so it was underhand money anyway.
Yeah, and that's how it would get missed. Like a friend of a friend of a friend of a senator who's probably given about that much away in bribes.
Yep.
Just gets it back in welfare, so it's like a zero sum corruption.
Don't forget, lobbying is legal bribery.
Yep. He gets arrested for dropping the money out of the blimp, not because he dropped the money, but because he caused a massive pitch invasion of everyone in the stadium.
Right.
And while they're in jail, he drops the soap.
Okay.
And it's because it was slipping and sliding all over the place. And 2 other prisoners come and laugh at him and go, "Hey, yeah, that's the guy that dropped the soap."
Yeah, it's one of those weird things, Rick, where apparently it's American prison culture specifically that's all about the funny, haha, drop the shower in the soap, haha, anal rape in prison. It's not so much of a thing in Europe.
No.
It's very odd.
There's a big thing in America about being prison gay. Like, because there are no women in men's prisons, that some of them will just end up being bottom bitches.
Okay.
But yeah, they get to the courtroom for the hearing, and as a bunch of people are saying, "Oh no, oh no, oh no," the Kool-Aid Man bursts through. "Oh yeah!"
I have seen an episode way in the future that has a bunch of people going, "Oh no, oh no, oh no," and the Kool-Aid Man goes, "Oh no," in his own home while watching the thing on the TV, and then someone bursts through his wall, and the Kool-Aid Man just goes, "Huh, yeah, this is quite annoying when you're on the other side of it."
And the status quo is restored by Stewie's mind control ray.
Yeah, of course.
Which he's been trying to get back for the entire episode because Lois confiscated it early on.
Yeah. Doesn't it also get deactivated by microwaves?
I think so.
I only say that because I remember, I didn't play it, but I've seen other people play it, the fucking PS2 Family Guy video game, and it was like a core mechanic of the game. It was dumb. Family Guy should not have a video game.
And yeah, this is back when Meg was voiced by Lacey Chabert.
Wasn't Lois also voiced by someone different?
I think so. Yeah, I'm just taking it. Before it was Alex Borstein.
Like if there's going to be any series where characters are not voiced correctly, it's going to be the first one when they're still finding their feet.
I think it was Alex Borstein, but she was like less nasal about it.
Maybe, I don't know. I always thought there was multiple characters who had different voices in season 1, but it's been a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Alex Borstein also doing Loretta Brown, Trisha Takanawa,
All-
Barbara Pewterschmidt.
All the women characters.
Yeah. any of the women characters that matter. I think the only one that she doesn't do is Diane Simmons or Barney, and yeah, that's about it. Or guest characters. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it for the first episode. I was thinking that this is the one where Mr. Weed dies and they interact with death, and it's Norm Macdonald, and apparently it's a different death anyway.
Okay.
So the episode where they do interact with death a lot is where Norm Macdonald Death has to stay at their house while his ankle heals, and Death has no consequence.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, I watched that one as well after I finished this. But yeah, I'm going to throw it over to you. What was your episode?
All right, Rick, I'm going to see if you can actually guess my episode, because there's a non-0% chance you might.
Okay.
It is Season 2, Episode 13.
Oh, yeah, I actually don't know which ones are which, so it's going to be, I'm going to have to ask you, what was episode 13 of Season 2?
It was Road to Rhode Island.
Okay.
Now, the reason I picked this episode is one of my favourite types of episode from Family Guy has been the Road to episodes. And Sod's Law, Road to Rhode Island was the very first one, so I thought, why not pick this one?
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, the main plot of the series is, the show is basically, Brian Griffin gets a bit of a flashback right at the beginning of the episode. It pretty much starts with that. It's kind of like a cold open almost, where he's got a flashback where he was born and then taken away from his mother, but in his flashback it's all like his mother let him go and basically went fuck off, blah blah, but in reality that's not the case. But yeah. Cards on the table, Rick. I did watch the episode for this, but I watched it 2 weeks ago when we first had the idea.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm a bit hazy on the details. I'm not going to be as in-depth as you, and I apologise for that. But yeah,
sure, no worries.
We cut to the present, and Brian tells the psychiatrist about said memory, and Brian wanting to kind of subtly go and see if he can actually ask his mum why he let him go. He volunteers to pick up Stewie from his vacation at his grandparents' summer home in Palm Springs.
Okay.
And in typical Brian fashion, Brian gets drunk at the airport, and when Stewie eventually gets him, their bags are stolen because they left them unattended, with the plane tickets inside. Hey, guess what, Rick? This episode came out in 2000, before the incident.
Yes. So, yeah, 2001 is the incident.
Yeah. So basically, if this came out after, 9/11, unattended baggage would have totally different consequences.
Yeah. I just looked it up. The first episode to come out after 9/11 was the September 19th. Yeah, Fish Out of Water, where Peter's unemployed and decides to become a fisherman.
That's a pretty good episode in its own right as well, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And the one before it is actually where Mr. Weed dies.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
So between Mr. Weed dying and Fish Out of Water, 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
But yeah,
they stop at a motel. They have a sleep. Stewie tries to call home, but it doesn't work because he thinks their number's a different number for some fucking reason. So they escape their room and hotwire a car because their credit card was sucked. So there's a lot of crime in this, and eventually they decide to visit the puppy mill, where Brian was born, because they're kind of out of the way now. This is where a joke I use in day-to-day life comes from, but no one ever gets it. Where sometimes I'll go es llamo Devon, because it's what Brian says to a bunch of Mexican migrants to get let onto the back of a pickup truck while hitchhiking, because he's trying to make conversation, and the guy just goes, "Oh, your pronunciation's quite good, but you don't actually have to say est. It's just est llamo. You don't need. Sorry, it's just llamo. You don't have to put the est." And it's like, "Oh, you speak English?" Yeah. No, just that sentence and this following one explaining it. You're kidding, okay? It's such a stupid fucking joke, but it's stuck in my brain since forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they eventually get to the puppy mill. The puppy mill owner, by the way, puppy mills are evil. If you don't know what puppy mill is, a person owns a bunch of bitches, gets them all knocked up, probably from the same dog. Not that really matters, that part of it. Usually the mating is rather horrific. They need to tie down the female and force it, basically, and then... Yeah,
apparently the studs don't even have the greatest of time, because one of our friends adopted a former stud, and he has not been in any way interested in mounting ever since.
Because they're done until they're drained. Like they're forced to do it constantly. The bitches don't give the bitches enough time between each pregnancy to recover. It's pretty much a constant cycle of puppies, weaned, okay, fill her with puppies again, you know?
Yep.
It's barbaric, and you should not buy puppies from puppy mills.
Yep.
But yeah, like, anyway, PSA aside, essentially, the owner of Brian's mother, whose name is Biscuit, by the way, was like, Biscuit was such a good mother. She loved all of her babies. She didn't want to let you go, but she did. And it's like, well, it's a puppy mill. She didn't really have a choice.
Nope.
Also, again, it's this weird scenario where, with Stewie and Brian in particular, it's weird because they're the only characters who have this special ability to talk and walk as if they're normal adults. Obviously, we get babies with a similar ability later on. The prime example being Bertram.
Yes. Who started life as a sperm inside Caesar? Inside Peter.
Yeah, it's a great episode.
Stewie shrunk himself down to fight against.
Yeah. But yeah. They revealed that they cared that Biscuit did such a good job as a puppy mill breeder that they had her body stuffed and mounted, and she's now an end table. The humans think this is a great honour. Meanwhile, Brian is fucking horrified because, of course, he is. Brian and Stewie, well, mostly Brian, but Stewie helps. Decide to take the end table, and they bury her in a nearby park. They eventually get home via stealing a crop duster. So they steal the crop duster, and if I remember rightly, they crash the crop duster, and then it just cuts away in their home. But I might be forgetting some details in the middle there. I believe the secondary plotline in this is Peter thinks that his love life with Lois is floundering, so they get some relationship advice DVDs, which ends up just being porn.
Yeah, and he gets addicted to the porn.
Yeah, Dr. Amanda Rebecca, I believe is the person's name. Oh yeah, and it's I do remember now, because what happens is in the relationship advice video, the doctor gets all sexy, it's all normal doctoring, goes, for this part, the wife needs to leave the room, so Lois leaves the room, and then she goes, is your wife gone? Peter's like, yeah, and then she starts stripping, and it's just porn.
Yep.
And by the end of the episode, I think Lois tapes over one of the videos, and it's just Lois doing it instead.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cute in a weird, fucked up sort of way.
Yeah, back when you could just tape over something on VHS.
Yeah. But yeah, Stewie eventually gets home with Brian. Lois asks Stewie about how the trip was, and Stewie, being a weird bro because Stewie is in a weird place where he kind of hates everyone, and it kind of eases up as the series goes on. But in series 2, it's like, I hate this family. I will kill you all.
Yeah, I think even like early on, Brian is less of an exception than later on.
Yeah,
like by season 4 and 5, like Brian is very definitely his exception.
Yeah. And then you get that weird episode where like it feels like a really bad improv where they're in the fucking bank vault, and it's just, why does anyone want to watch this?
Yeah, including Eat My Poop.
It's like what? I get it. There's a certain series where Seth MacFarlane doesn't even bother fucking hiding the fact that he hates writing Family Guy still.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think he even writes Family Guy anymore. I think his name's just stamped on it.
Yeah, he just signs off on it. You get new writers who don't understand comedy, and they just try and get a laugh out of anything. And apparently in the behind the scenes, you can tell the difference between the writers who want to tie the cutaway gags together with the actual plot, versus ones that just want to go do, I want to do this cutaway gag, let's just throw in this is worse than the time, the blah blah blah.
Yeah. And by the way, I don't blame Seth MacFarlane for doing that. Like the really obvious one is the Star Wars specials, because he wanted to do the first one and he loved doing the first one. You could tell he loved it, and then Fox went, this was successful, do another one. And Seth MacFarlane's like, but we don't need to do another one.
Yeah, like the second one was all right, but the third one, they very obviously had run out of ideas. Apart from that, Joe was Jabba the Hutt, and that's it.
I didn't even watch the third one. I know in the second, I can't remember. It must have been the second one, because I definitely watched the second one, where during the intro crawl they go, look, we don't even want to do this fucking episode, but Fox says we have to. Here's an animated pink elephant. That pink elephant costs $50,000. Fuck Fox. You know. Like whenever they have a jab at Fox, it's great, because it also means that Fox doesn't fucking quality control their shit.
Yep. I think this is also before Brian is super horny for Lois, isn't it? I
don't remember examples. No, because this doesn't really have any interaction between the two characters.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, that does eventually become. I've never been comfortable with that plot.
Yeah. I think it's a weird one where Quagmire is right.
Okay, the thing about Quagmire that pisses me off the most in that moment, though, is that Quagmire's like, yeah, sure, I want Lois, but I'm not living with the dude, and it's like, yeah, but That doesn't make it... No. They seem to have whitewashed the fact that Quagmire has made several attempts at Lois in the past, despite being with Peter at the time.
Yeah, including, being a chair.
The time he went into the bathroom.
Yeah, Spider-Manning in the bathroom.
It's like, oh, I may be a pervert, but I'm not trying to steal the guy's wife. And it's like, what? No, you've done more fucked up shit than this to get Lois.
Yeah, I think the idea is Quagmire wants to have a go now and again, whereas Brian actually wants to marry her.
I don't see a difference.
But either way, it's betraying Peter.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Lois deserves better than Peter. I don't know how Lois stands it, but, you're not supposed to go after someone you're not supposed to go after anyone's missus if you know they're married, but, especially not your mates.
Yeah. Apparently, there is a Road to series of films from the 1940s, and this is the one that most closely resembles one of those actual plots.
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
And apparently that one's called Road to Morocco.
Yeah, it's a comedy film starring Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, and Dorothy Lamour. McFarlane just happened to be a fan of the film series and came up with the idea, and then one of the other writers went, yep, sure, I'll roll with that.
Yeah, sweet.
When Brian says, hey, Stewie, why did you help me? Stewie's like, oh, there's a favour you can do for me. I don't know what accent I was going for there, but it wasn't the right one.
If you just do a Mr. Burns, you're probably like 90% of the way there.
Yeah, probably, but yeah. I do remember watching a Seth MacFarlane an interview with someone, and someone said, do the Stewie voice, and he did the Stewie voice, and the words he chose were, this is the voice I used to put on to get girls. But yeah, at the end, Stewie gets Brian to repay the favour by taping an episode of the Brady Bunch for him.
Yeah, but he does it really ominously as well, doesn't it? It's like, remember the episode of the Brady Bunch where Bobby saved Greg's life and Greg became his slave, and Brian's like really sheepish.
Yeah,
and Stewie's like, yeah, it's on this afternoon. Can you tape it for me?
Yeah, that's great. Very quick note. This is an episode where stuff did actually get removed.
Okay.
I think it was probably later on because. Again, this came out before 9/11. But yeah, during the airport section, there was a scene in the original release which involved Osama bin Laden.
Oh, okay.
In the scene, Stewie approached airport security, and when they realised his bag was full of weapons, that's when he started singing. It's a bit of a trope in the Road 2 episodes in that Stewie gets caught out doing something, or the gang gets caught doing something, and the way they get out of it is to sing a song. And in this instance, Stewie sings On the Good Ship Lollipop. To distract the workers while his guns go through X-Way, and after he succeeds, he just goes, let's hope Osama bin Laden doesn't know shoe tunes, and then it does a cutaway of Osama in another line distracting the singers by doing a different musical number. But yeah, it even says here, even though the episode was made a year and a half before 9/11, it was still controversial and was cut on the Family Guy Volume 1 DVD in the US. However, the scene was left intact on Hulu from 2018 onwards and the Freakin' Sweet collection, so it might still be on the Disney Plus version if it was allowed on Hulu. I don't know, I've not checked.
Yep, fair enough.
But it's...
we can check after this even.
We can. But it super makes sense that after 9/11 they would cut that out because,
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I thought Road to Rhode Island was a good pick. I think we both picked good picks. You picked the very first episode, I picked the first episode of a series of running gag episodes, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, the first of the themed Road to episodes.
But I think that about wraps it up, so I have a question for you, Rick. Is it worth doing MVPs, really?
I mean, we could do it for our own episodes, I think.
Alright, with that in mind then, who's the MVP from your episode?
The MVP from my episode is Stewie, because he shows up throughout the episode trying to get his Ray back, and it's the Ray that solves everything.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, even though he's like fighting Lois at every turn, it's kind of it ties it all together. Also, weirdly, this is the episode where it's more apparent that people probably can't understand what Stewie is saying.
Yeah, there's an episode in like I can't remember what episode it is specifically. I actually think it's another Road to episode. I think it's the Road to Hitler or whatever the fuck the episode's called.
Oh yeah.
Where it's like Stewie's like, wait, can Mort understand me? And Brian says something along the lines of, yeah, I think Mort's close enough to the main cast that he can understand you at this point. So essentially, who can and can't understand Stewie is based entirely on whether or not they need to understand Stewie for a joke to work.
Yeah. But yeah, who's your MVP from your episode?
It's also going to be Stewie. I think there's a reason why Stewie and Brian are a lot of people's favourite characters. It's usually one of the two. It's very rare you'll find someone go, yeah, Peter's my favourite character, or Meg.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, mine in particular was before Meg got super sidelined as, fuck Meg.
Yeah, once Meg starts becoming the butt of all jokes and just gets picked on by everyone, it's just like, it's not even funny, it's just sad.
Yeah, because I think this was also around the time that Lisa episodes could still be good.
Okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, because Family Guy started in what, 99?
Yeah, around that. And it was just before Lisa became, like this soapbox Sadie who's always on top of always got some agenda to push.
Yeah. But yeah, Stewie for me. It could equally have been Brian, because the Road to episodes are pretty much a 50-50 split on who's the funnier character.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth doing Weakest Link, but favourite moment might be worth doing. Or, well, we kind of jump straight to MVP, so we can wrap up. It's up to you, Rick. It's your episode.
Yeah, we'll wrap up there. But we've talked about moments, and like a lot of them just have equal chance of being favourites anyway. So if you want a favourite moment, just rewind. Pick one for yourself. So, yep, it's going to be a goodbye from us. If you like the video, you got the comment section down below on the YouTube. If you're listening via one of the many audio platforms, you have the email address to which you can send us comments, suggestions, and anything else. And where would they send that to?
nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com. Once again, that is nonsensereviewuk@gmail.com.
Yeah. And as I said, goodbye from me.
Yeah, farewell, chaps.